A few days ago, the Cardinal of the Roman Catholic Church in South Africa got a lot of publicity. He claimed that pedophilia should not be seen as a crime. This publicity he got was mostly negative, and rightly so. The Cardinal fails to make the basic distinction between a person's sexuality and how this person handles his or her sexuality. These are not only two very different things, but also things that it is very destructive to mix up. In the case of pedophilia and child sex abuse, the former is sexual attraction toward children, while the latter is to actually approach children in a sexual manner. People who fail to make this distinction when it comes to pedophilia will make one of two mistakes. They will unjustly condemn chaste pedophiles who stay away from children, or they will excuse actual child sex abuse. The Cardinal is making this later mistake. This means that pedophiles who are also attracted to adults need to focus on this later attraction. It also means that exclusive pedophiles need to confine themselves to fantasize and masturbate. Both kinds of pedophiles need to stay the hell away from children. As an adult, I can handle if a woman or man lusts after me or develop a crush on me. Children, however, are not ready to handle the desires of adults, and they shouldn't have to be able to handle it. Let them be children. It is true, as the Cardinal says, that pedophiles can't help being pedophiles, and that we shouldn't blame them for their feelings. However, this does not excuse any form of child sex abuse. What we as a society need to do is to help innocent pedophiles to stay away from children. Since I have worked a bit with rehabilitation of convicted pedophiles, this lack of preemptive measures used to be a big source of annoyance for me personally. The programs we had to offer is in my opinion quite good, but all the clients I had were men who had already committed a crime. They were not allowed to sign up for the program without committing a crime first. Some of them would have signed up right away had they been given the chance. Luckily, Sweden now has a hotline called Preventel. If you speak Swedish and have undesired sexual urges, please call them. If you know someone who fits that description, please give him or her their homepage or number. Preventel.se or 020-667788. If you know of such hotlines or similar resources for other languages, or better yet a global directory for them, please notify me and I will link it in the description of this video. Pedophiles are not necessarily the monsters that the Cardinal unwittingly portrayed them as in his misguided compassion. If it was true that they just can't help abusing children, we ought to lock them up for life, even before they commit those inevitable crimes. But those crimes are not inevitable. Every heterosexual, homosexual, or sadomasochist is required to stay celibate until he or she find a compatible partner for a mutual relationship on fair terms. For many, this means years without sex, sometimes the entire lifetime. While this sucks, it is endurable. For pedophiles, there are no compatible partners. Fair terms for mutual relationships are not available. This sucks as much for them as loneliness sucks for the rest of us. But many of them, probably most of them, are decent human beings. Persons who are able to control themselves. They don't need people who indirectly tell them that it doesn't matter whether they abuse children or not. They don't need people who, out of hate or misguided compassion, tell them, you might as well go ahead and live down to our lowest expectations. Preventing a case of abuse from happening in the first place is far better than forgiving it afterwards. What children need is that the pedophiles abstain from exploiting them, not that the abusers say a certain number of Hail Mary after the deed is done.